Hello, my wonderful friends. I just got a quick idea for a video. I've been working on my in memoriam list of all the celebrities that have died this year, and I came up with a game. So a lot of people talk about the growing rock and roll band in heaven, and there's a large group of musicians and singers that are added to it every year. The title of this video is the best I could come up with, short and catchy title. I'm not referring to the Marvel character Deadpool, so if that's why you're here, you may not want to watch this one. Maybe you do. Go ahead and stick around for a minute. Maybe I'll get to something that's fun for you too. But the original definition of Deadpool is given to a list of celebrities that people bet on are going to die. And when somebody on the Deadpool dies, there's a lot of people on the, I assume they do that on the dark web. There's a lot of people that make a lot of money when certain celebrities die every year. But I'm appropriating that name to mean the list of artists that have passed away this year. It's the pool that I'm drawing from. Too much explanation. Let's just get to it. With that disclaimer, let's make some fictional bands out of deceased artists. I know it sounds kind of morbid, but in my mind, I think of it as just one more extra fun and interesting way to pay tribute to the contributions of these great artists and musicians and singers. So let's get into it. The only rule is to try to make full bands that make sense from the list of musicians that have died this year. Fill the roster with appropriate instrumentation and genre and create a functioning band, fantasy functioning band, taking into account creativity and technical abilities and personalities, the best that I know. And of course, RIPs and tots and pairs all around to all of these people. So here's the class of 2025. So what I've done is I've laid out all of the major singers that were on the list. So we have Ozzy, we have Terry Reid, Super Lungs. I put Brian Wilson over here, Sly Stone over here, and David Johansen down here. And then I just start plugging in the other musicians along the way. And obviously John Sykes, one of my favorite guitar players of all time, and the most metal yet mainstream and age appropriate. I think John Sykes and Ozzy would make a great writing team. He's kind of Randy Rhoads-ish and Zakk Wylde-ish in his ways. Plus, he's a great backup singer and great lead singer and a great writer of riffs and things. Les Binks was the drummer from Judas Priest's first two albums, so I think he would go appropriate with the Ozzy John Sykes band. Rick Davies from Supertramp. He stylistically may not be as heavy or hard rock as those guys, but I think he spent many years as creative partner with Roger Hodgson in Supertramp. So I think he would be a good balance. He'd be kind of like a John Paul Jones kind of like the glue that holds everybody together. Plus, Ozzy writes melodies and stuff like that, but he doesn't really write a lot of lyrics. And I think Rick Davies wrote a lot of the lyrics on at least his songs within Supertramp. So he's adds a good contribution that way too. And there wasn't a lot of bass players that died this year, so I put Sam Rivers in this band. He's a little younger than those guys, but he's the only one that's like was kind of heavy-ish, and as backup for Limp Bizkit for all those years. I think he would fall in line with whatever stuff Ozzy and John Sykes would write. I think he would be a good addition to that. Next band is Terry Reid. Terry Reid was called Super Lungs. He was singer from England in the 60s, and he was famously asked to join Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin at different times. So we started with him to create a really elite older group of classic rock band, and the one that seems to go best with that was Garth Hudson, who was the last living member of the band, and I think their styles and approaches would really align pretty well. Chris Drea was the original rhythm guitar player from the Yardbirds, and he was the guy that when the Yardbirds lost their bass player at one point, Jimmy Page joined on bass and eventually talked Chris Drea into switching to bass so he could play double lead guitar with Jeff Beck. So there's kind of a Jimmy Page connection there. He's also the guy that took the picture on the back of the Led Zeppelin 1 album cover. So there's a fun fact for you. Mick Ralphs, I wanted to put him somewhere. He's a very, very important guitar player. And also a Led Zeppelin Jimmy Page connection because he was the original guitar player, or the only guitar player ever that played with Bad Company. And Bad Company was the first band signed to Swan Song. So there's a long history with Jimmy Page in there. And then I was thinking of drummers, and Bobby Whitlock is the only choice. He played with Derek at the Dominoes and Bob Dylan and lots and lots of people over the years. He's just a solid backup guy. And for bass, John Lodge from Moody Blues just passed away. And so there we go. There's another solid band, good classic rock. I'm sure there's good writing there, and yeah, moving on. Started with Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. That was a big loss to a lot of people this year. Not necessarily me. I'm not a huge Beach Boys fan, but he was a great writer. So I put Joey Molland was the last living member from Badfinger, and Badfinger was one of those bands that was supposed to pick up the legacy of the Beatles. So the Beatles and Beach Boys connection there. Badfinger just had a run of bad luck. At least two of the members committed suicide within the 70s, and I think he was the last living member of Badfinger. I didn't know what to do with him. Steve Cropper doesn't really fit with Brian Wilson, but these are elder statesmen, all guys from the 60s. So, and he was always a great sideman for all of the Stax stuff, and Sam and Dave and all of the stuff on sax, and also the Blues Brothers. So I thought he would fill that in there. There was no other bass players, so I plucked Herbie Flowers from last year's list, and he was the bass player from David Bowie and Lou Reed and all those people. He played the bass line on Walk on the Wild Side and on Space Oddity and a bunch of David Bowie stuff. So creatively, I think he would fit this area. Jamie Muir was from King Crimson. I think he replaced Bill Bruford as the drummer in King Crimson. I didn't actually look up that he was a drummer. I'm just inferring that from things that I've seen. So I may be completely off base on that one. I'm going to have to look that up before I actually do my real in memoriam list. But for now, he's the drummer of this new Brian Wilson band. And I stuck Mark Volman on there too, from the Turtles. So he's got a huge history of harmonies. Two guys from the Turtles were inseparable through that band, and then they both joined Frank Zappa's band at the same time and were just a creative force through the 70s after the Turtles. And I thought Brian Wilson would get a kick out of singing with Mark Volman, and Mark Volman would get a kick out of singing with Brian Wilson. So there's another band. What do we got? Songwriter. We got guitar, bass, drums, and vocals. And I don't like the way Brian Wilson sings, so Mark Volman would have to be the lead singer of this band. So there's another solid band. And then we jump down, and here's the punk stuff. We got David Johansen from the New York Dolls, and later on he was Buster Poindexter. Feeling hot, hot, hot. So, classic punk rock. We put Brian James from The Damned, one of the original punk rock band, and that would be awesome. And on drums, we got Tommy Price, who I know from Billy Idol. So there's your punk rock cred. I think he might have played with Joan Jett at some point. Maybe Scandal. I think he was in Scandal with Patti Smythe. And Clem Burke from Blondie. And once again, same thing with that other guy. I'm not real sure he's a bass player, but the in memoriam thing that I saw of him, he's playing bass on stage. And he had a run of bands besides Blondie that he played with. I think he might have actually been the drummer in Blondie. I can't be for sure. I should actually do research before I film these. But and I rounded this punk rock group out with Rick Derringer. I think he would be a great addition as a producer and as an additional guitar player and writer for this band, because I'm not sure a lot of these guys are great writers. So Rick Derringer would be the writer of this band and the producer mainly. God, that was a big loss. Rick Derringer was a huge loss. Started out one of the guys that has double one-hit wonders, because he's a one-hit wonder with the McCoys with Hang On Sloopy, and he's also sort of a one-hit wonder with himself and under his own name with Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, but he was also involved with Edgar Winter's band for the longest time, and they have several hits, Free Ride and Frankenstein and several other songs. So there we go. I tried to make one out of Sly Stone, and it just wasn't enough people this year. I mean, luckily people haven't died, but it just wasn't the creative force enough to make a funk R&B type of band out of this deal. So I stuck Roberta Flack in there, and I put Wayne Osmond with it because the Osmonds always were a show. They were a show family, and but I'm not sure how well that would work out because I'm pretty sure Sly Stone was kind of a partying hippie, free spirit type of guy, and the Osmonds are hardcore Mormon, so that may not be the perfect combination. So we'll strike this one, and I've got 4 solid fantasy Deadpool bands out of this year's crop of In Memoriam. And I think that's a lot. This is the first year I've tried to do that. I might go back to other years and see if I can make some other bands out of other years. But 4 seems like a lot. And these are good bands. I would love this band. I would love this band. I would appreciate this band a whole bunch. This one I would like because of the musicians. This is almost the prog rock band. I would have liked to have maybe put, I could have put John Lodge over here instead of Herbie Flowers. But, do I got a drummer? If I didn't have the drummer here, I could have put Bobby Whitlock over here too. But he seems more appropriate with Terry Reid and these really traditional kind of musicians. So anyway, that was fun. I hope you liked that. Please subscribe and share this around if you know of anybody else that likes to talk about the list of dead celebrities in heaven now. Or likes to do these fantasy bands, or just likes to talk about just about anything. So anyway, I love you. Bye-bye.